Hi, I'm Ben. I like Kill Team. I am back in front of a very messy desk, and I want to talk about it. In this video, I'm going to show you how I kitbashed a Chaos Legionaries Anointed Specialist for my Kill Team, Legionary Kill Team, because I'm super into Legionaries at the moment, but this will really apply to kitbashing or converting any sort of, Chaos Chosen, Chaos, Anointed, situation. So let's go ahead and get into it. I love Chaos Space Marines. I may have started out as a loyalist, but now I'm a full-on Chaos boy and loving it. This is who I am, Dad. It's not a phase. And specifically, my favorite flavor of Heretic Astartes is the Red Corsairs. I mean, who doesn't love Chaos Space Pirates? Something that really bothered me about the Legionaries Anointed model is how untainted it looks. Like, he's got claws for hands, and that's about it. They're not even claws, they're just beefy hands. Not very chaosy in my opinion. So let's fix that by building and sculpting our own. I'm starting off with a Death Guard legs and back with the front torso plate from the Chaos Space Marine kit glued on. I really like the chonk that Death Guard models have when compared to vanilla Chaos Space Marines, especially since mine will be pledged to Papa Nurgle himself. Anyways, the problem here is that this leaves a giant gap in the stomach area, but every problem is just an opportunity to be creative, so we're going to fix it by filling that cavity with a big ol' Nurgle belly. I start by mixing up some green stuff and rolling it into a ball, then filling the stomach area with enough green stuff to leave a generous amount hanging so I can sculpt that into a big ol' belly. I'll be using a silicone sculpting tool here, but you could do this with whatever tools you have, even your hands if you had to. Most important thing is to lubricate your sculpting tool of choice, and let's get to work. This belly is an organic shape, and we want it to look smooth, at least initially. Unintentional tool marks are a no-no, so we want to get the initial smooth shape dialed in. One of the things you really want to avoid is fingerprint marks in your green stuff. It's a rookie mistake and easily avoided once you know what you're doing. If you don't have any sculpting tools, you could probably use the back of a spoon or maybe even the side of a butter knife as long as it was lubed up appropriately. Once we have our shape where we want it, I'm going to start working the folds of the skin on either side. I don't have a reference for this, and I'm not sure if this is realistic at all, but it feels right, so I'm going with it. When you're sculpting something like a warpy, tainted Space Marine belly, realism really doesn't matter that much. What's important is what looks good and what feels right. Speaking of realism, every belly needs a belly button. Using either a sculpting tool or a toothpick, which is the best, cheapest sculpting tool there is, poke a hole and widen it out a little bit to sculpt a belly button on this little freak. You don't want it to be a perfect circle, so do what you can to make it look natural. Then I'm making some little indentations in groups of 3 around his belly and a few different places to give some texture. He has the mark of Nurgle, and this is a subtle nod to Peepon Nurgle. After this, it's time to work on the Demon Claw. I'm using a Death Guard arm that I'm cutting at the elbow and reposing. For the actual claw, I'm using a hand from the Bloodletters kit. When reposing, it's definitely better to measure twice and cut once. I'm test fitting at every joint before I start gluing because it's much easier to make adjustments now rather than later. I drill a hole in each joint with my pin vise and clean up the cuts before placing a pin and gluing it all in place. Once the arm and claw have been glued together, I'm going to bulk up the forearm with green stuff. I'm starting with a tube, not a chunky snake, at the base of where the forearm meets the armor, and just slowly working it down the wrist. Once I have the rough shape worked out, I start sculpting the shape of muscles and veins. Now that the arm is finished, I glue it in place at the angle that I like, and then use some green stuff to fill in the gap in the armpit area. This can be messy because I have something special planned to cover it up. I've already pinned this head, so I'm just going to glue it in place and then sculpt some really nasty, yucky neck meat. Ugh, neck meat. After that, I'm assembling the rest of the plastic bits like backpack and shoulder pads before moving on to the really fun stuff. This hobby session is brought to you by The First Heretic, a great read about Lorgar the Wordbearers and mostly Argel Tal, leader of the Gal Vorbak, also known as the first chosen/possessed Space Marines. Very fitting and inspiring for this build. Not a sponsor, just a recommendation. This hobby session also brought to you by my Patreon. It's there if you want to support the channel. Since this is my Chaos Anointed who's full of dark, chaosy power, I really want to demonstrate this, and to do that, I'm going to have a bunch of tentacles growing out of his body. I'm applying some water to each side of the roller to act as a lubricant. This is one instance where you do not, and I repeat, do not want to use oil of any sort. Roll out a snake of green stuff and place it on one side of the roller. If you align the grooves, you get a tube shape, but if you have them going in different directions, you get a really nice checkered pattern. Once placed, you just roll that sucker out back and forth and boom, that's a tentacle. Good job. I'm proud of you. For some reason, green stuff binds to superglue really quickly. I don't know why, probably some sciencey molecular crap, I don't know. So we're going to use it to glue it in place and then curl it into an organic, curly tentacle shape. If you know why this binds so quickly, let me know in the comments. Probably because it's plasticky. I don't know. Then I repeat this process a few more times and glue them into the armpit regions. Use green stuff's drying time to your advantage and keep posing them until you're happy. I based this bro because he's very based if I do say so myself, and then I add some tentacles growing out of the ground for some reason. Maybe he's so chaos tainted that even the ground he walks on gets mutated. Whenever you're taking the time to make a really cool conversion, I think it's important to put some time into the base as well, because you don't want a lame base in a cool model. You want a cool model and a cool base, right? That's easy math. So with that finished, here he is. Most Chaos Chosen you see are mostly spiky with big claws and stuff, but I really wanted to lean more into the Nurgle side of things. And while you may argue that tentacles are more of a Slaanesh thing, I think they're also very Nurgly, depending on what you do with them. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think of my Chaos Legionaries Anointed. Thank you so much, as always, for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and being so cool and nice on the internet. You can find me, Ben, the Battle Bro, on Instagram at Battle Brothers Tabletop. You can find me in the Battle Brothers Tabletop Discord server. You can find me on the Kill Team Casuals podcast, What, with my good buds, Reese and Russ. The International Kill Team Boys, the KTC3 as we call ourselves privately, and I also have a Patreon if you want to support the channel. If you like it that much and you want to be the coolest and nicest, it's there and you can support the channel. This helps me get more bits to make stuff and more equipment and just stuff to make the channel better. So thank you guys so much. Getting back into the swing of things. Got a messy desk again. All feels right in the world. Catch you later.